It seems like we already have 3 calls. So as I said, you guys come first. Whatever we don't cover from the from what we were supposed to cover, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Let's go to John, line 1. Come on in.
Great to chat with you again. I'll go back to my original premise. A healthy nation does not elect a Donald Trump. Right? There's something wrong with the maybe it's the electoral college, because of the goofy, but that's just, isn't the electoral college in the Constitution, So
Yes.
yeah, so you have to deal with Wyoming with there are 2 senators and their electoral college. Any rate, but how do we win back the Trump voters? And also, Justin, who do you think is running the White House with Biden? I mean, Biden clearly is not.
All right, let me take each one of those things that you brought up. When you talk about a healthy nation does not elect a Trump, I couldn't have said that any better. And thank you, John, for saying that. We are not a healthy nation. And we're not a healthy nation for various reasons. Our economic system has laid waste to the average American citizen. When under the Trump administration, 80% of people lived paycheck to paycheck in a rich country where they saw the stock market zoom in, where they saw everybody doing, all the very small amount of people doing very well. Under Biden, that has been mitigated somewhat, where only 60% of people live in paycheck to paycheck. But remember, 60% of people represent about 200 million people, meaning the vast majority of the country. So yes, it's a country that is sick. It's a country that is constantly looking for somebody who's going to save the country. And because we have the biggest master around now, because we have what's I called antiseptic slavery right now, where we are all turned into a new kind of slave. It's just one that is nicer to look at. It's antiseptic. It's antiseptic. So you hit the nail on the head. It's not a healthy country. What we have to do is work on things from several angles. The way we tackle I'm coming to everybody, but I want to say this. The way we tackle the virus, you're a doctor, if I recall, John. The way we tackled the virus, the AIDS virus, is we realized if we hit it with one drug, it eventually mutates, doesn't support that drug anymore, and then it kills the patient again. Well, what did we do? We created something called a cocktail that hit the drugs from so many angles. The drug didn't have a chance to mutate to solve what's killing it. And that's why Magic Johnson and all these people can live forever with no traces of the drug of the virus in their body. In as much as it may be hiding in certain places in their bodies, we don't know, but that's how we tackle it. The same thing we have to do with America. We have to tackle it from the economic system must be modified so that it's humane, meaning healthcare. All those things have to be taken into account so that people really see a government working for them, because we, in fact, are the government. Number 2, you asked, how are we going to get to the Trump voters without what would I say? As a 501c3, I have to be careful on how I talk about the things that I've written, right? But I wrote a book called It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And the reason why I wrote that book was I personally developed different ways of dealing with folks. I live in Kingwood, Texas, a very red area, and I enjoy my Republicans, that have coffee with my Republicans. I enjoy everybody. How? It is, first of all, remembering that while on the radio, I do most of the talking. When I'm talking to my buddies, I do most of the listening. And I give the respect to let folks understand that I am not just taking what they say to give them a response, but I'm listening to them to see where they are. And in seeing where they are, I can actually come to a symbiotic relationship with them to say, okay, let me ask you to see things through my eyes as I'm trying to see things through your eyes. And when they realize that there's so much commonality that we have, generally speaking, things change. In my book, I wrote an article that said one of these people came into the gym when I was working out, slapped me on the back, and said, "You're going to like me, but I ain't no Democrat." And he said, "I'm voting the way I'm supposed to vote, but I ain't no Democrat." In other words, he was going to vote in this particular election for a whole slew of Democrats, but not because he was changing his ideology, not because he was changing who he was, but because he was working in the best interest of his family, etc. When we show people that, things change. So those are your two answers, Brother John. One is, yes, we're a sick nation. Two is, how do we talk to MAGA? We talk to MAGA by respecting that there is a reason they've become there. I understand that the evangelicals have become the way they have. They've become unchristian because the leaders who should be their pastors have become evil. When we talk about somebody like Ed Young talking the way he talks about other human beings, you wonder why these people are able to talk the way they do. That's the reason. John, please come back.
Listen, I'm sorry. I think we need to somehow bring back the middle class. I mean, you said, under Biden, you said 60% live paycheck to paycheck. That's non-sustainable.
No, it's not.
When I was a kid, I grew up in Northern California, like what's now Silicon Valley. Everyone was middle class. I mean, everyone was, there are some kids whose parents had money. Most of us were just average middle class, went to public schools. Public schools were good. Now, I couldn't afford to buy a garage in that area. Now, I know that's hyper wealthy area, but that speaks toward the decline of the middle class, the people who just have daily jobs. They pay their taxes, they obey the laws, they raise the pillars in their community, and I just don't see that. And I think that's the illness in our nation.
Thank you, John. I think when you mentioned it the first time, I did say, yes, John, you're right. It's an ill nation, and when you say that, that is a part of changing the economic system. Our economic system, by design, creates that scenario. The mathematical formula, all economic systems are governed by some mathematical formula. They don't tell you that in business school, right? But it's a mathematical formula that governs the system. And in a system where those with capital grow at 7% plus and those without capital grow at a much lesser percentage, it is not sustainable, as you just said, because again, as that pie, which is a closed system, grows, what occurs? The disparities, the wealth disparity and income disparity comes out from exactly what you just said. Exactly.
The wealth disparities are unsustainable.
You're right.
The wealth are just magnificently unsustainable.
Right.
And, can I switch gears slightly?
Sure.
I know you have other callers.
Yeah, I got other callers I got to go to.
Yeah, I know you got to go. What are your thoughts on classic liberals like Bill Maher? I sort of identify with him. I mean, like liberal classic, meaning liberty, freedom.
Let me just tell you, I got you. I was a great admirer of Bill Maher until a recent change. Bill Maher has signed a pact with the devil, is what many of us have been saying recently. Bill Maher knows better. Bill Maher used to say the things as they are, but Bill Maher has come to the conclusion that being progressive now is somehow pie in the sky. And from the discussion that you and I have just had, being progressive is not pie in the sky, because you identified the problem. The problem was our economic system. Bill Maher thinks the economic system, for all practical purposes, is just fine. He doesn't. I mean, he never thought that way before. But now he has changed. So in principle, I used to align with him perfectly. Lately, I don't know what has happened. But John, look, thank you for one other thing that you said, John. Yeah, but before, I would need to answer one other thing. Please don't fall for the trap that, look, I think our president is too damn old. Biden is too damn old, I think. And I'm not, this is not to be offensive to my older listeners, but look, people have asked me, why don't you run? I'm like, I'm too damn old to run. We need to leave the run-in for the 30-somethings and the 40-somethings right now. But here's the thing. Biden is very, very smart. He has a lot of old ways that need changing, that I think the progressive wing was successful in getting him to pass several policies that helped Americans. That's where we went from 80% to 60%. But I think he's very smart with the right push I think he'll do just fine. We would have loved somebody else, but that's who we got. Thank you very much, John, for entertaining and allowing me to say some important things. You have a wonderful day, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.